Hello, I'm here at Penn's Cave. The Legend of Penn's Cave. I'll put the film on that and stop for a second or two. Alright. So you can read it when you get around. I'm heading into the mountainside tour. Okay. Long climb.
Yeah, it is.
It's a long climb down to it, so be careful if you ever come up here. Now, these steps are steep, very steep.
That's where Marty lived too. And looked at those 2 summers, I came back in 2012, and then we toured it for several years, and I came back last June. I also did the wildlife tour, but I'm not sure, sometimes I cut Mike on the bus boat.
Hey.
All right, thank you. I think we should have to kind of wipe them off just now.
Okay. Here's what the cave looks like in this area.
It's like I started to say a little bit ago, these are flat bottom boats, they rock but they don't tip over. And over 139 years of doing commercial tours down here, I can promise you we never had a guest fall in the water, but I can only promise you that we never had a guest fall in the water. A few tour guides just slipped in there. When you step on the boat, step one at a time and walk single file down through the middle, all the way to the white life ring and sit down on both sides. See, we try to keep the weight balanced. And after you're seated, if you want to tear your white ticket stub off, I'll collect them on my way to the front. But right now, I'm just going to make sure that I have a hand open for anybody that might need it.
Yes, I go in. Yep, unbalanced. Alright. Guess I'm on this side, huh? There. We don't want the knitting line to go in. If you're special, if you're homemade kind of special made jeans, what you got at a store. Okay. Gotta get the.
They just came down the steps.
Yeah. Hello.
More room if you need it.
We have to be friends.
Alright, well. Water. Spring Creek. Whoa.
We're pretty well balanced now. We're a little off. We don't have any little tiny people to throw around, so we gotta worry about that. I'm gonna step off the boat really slowly to shut this gate. Oh yeah.
No, we're doing it ourselves, right?
That pushes off.
It's about as cold as it's
About this right now.
It's a little bit colder, but it's about 52 degrees all year round. Now, if you want to turn your knees that way to the motor, I'm going to walk up to the middle and collect the white ticket stubs along the way.
Back stuff down. Oh, true.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Oops, sorry. If there's a cool way to walk through here, I didn't figure it out yet. Alrighty. So I've collected all the white ticket stubs, and the white ticket stubs have the time and the date on it. So if anybody needs to establish an alibi later, meet me in the parking lot around 7 o'clock. The Red Ford Escape. Anyway, my name is Ethan. I'm going to take you on the boat through the cave today. The rules are pretty simple. Please stay seated. Don't stand up or switch sides. And every time we go through a tight spot, there's about two. I'm going to remind you to keep your hands off the side of the boat, because if you look at the boats on either side of us, right where you have your hand is where you seem to get a lot of the scratch marks. So you're going to keep your hands off the side of the boat. If you get your finger pinched, it hurts. If it gets pinched off, it makes it hard to do math problems with you. All that being said, though, if you want to touch the water, I'd say to do that right now. The water is 38 degrees.
Jumping in there.
And don't worry, the fish don't bite, especially if not when I'm fishing.
Pretty much what I don't when I'm fishing too.
You touch the water already?
All that cold water is coming into the cave from underneath this layer of rock on the left here. There's a limestone spring that feeds the cave, and on average, about 11 million gallons of water a day flows to the cave. And to keep the bag from drifting around, we drag a 9-foot chain with an anchor on it that's connected to this rope up here. I'm going to drop it down, so if you're sitting on my side, if you feel something slide across your back, please don't smack the person that's sitting next to you. And up here we have some of our first formations. Those are stalactites. Stalactites grow from the ceiling down, which means the opposite of that is a stalagmite. Very good. That grows from the ground up. Just remember the stalactites have the hematite to the ceiling. Sometimes they grow together and form columns, like you can see over here on the right. As we go through the cave, we're going to talk about history and science, but for the most part, I'm just going to tell you a bunch of bad jokes. We're also going to point out formations that look like other things, like if you use your imagination, you might see the head of a dragon growing out of the wall here on the left. And my co-captain in the back was telling me he was looking for the Statue of Liberty. Right over there, it's the tallest stalagmite. And they call it the Statue of Liberty, but it might look a little bit more like a chicken sitting on a post.
Totem pole. Okay.
This is the first of the cave. I know this is a few people's first time in the cave, so I think you'll be happy to know that there's lots of lights down here. One other thing I wanted to give you a heads up on is boats don't have brakes. So if you want to slow down or stop, we switch directions and it makes a splashing sound like this. If I don't tell people what that is before I do it, everybody sits up straight and their eyes get real big like they think the fish are attacking the boat or something like that. Back when we first got on the boat, the water's about 15 feet deep. Once you get about 2 boat lengths inside the cave, it's only about 3 feet deep the whole way through. Actually, I haven't been here in a few days. I'm pretty sure that the water's cleared up enough that we can look and see the bottom. I'll show one side at a time, just please stay seated. Yeah, there it is. Still a little murky down there. It just looks like white sand. It's not that neat looking, but it's reassuring. Anything else? Only about 3 feet deep. You can see, yes, the back, I'll show you here again real quick. You can almost see the bottom if you look down there. Did you ask that, how deep the water is? You can see if you look down in the water right there. It's still a little murky. It just looks like white sand.
When we have other rain, does the water raise very much in here?
Sure, it does. And the cave used to flood pretty regularly because the water would exit the last room by going out underneath the layer of rock. And it would have to go out about 75 feet before it re-emerged at the head of Penn's Creek. So every time it rained, it would take a few days for the water to go down. So between 1925 and 1927, they made a tunnel that goes out into a 5-acre man-made lake that we call Lake Nittany. So we can see the water rise up and down depending on how much rain we're getting or not getting. We can control the depth of the water to a certain extent, but every now and then we have to let the cave flood, because if we let too much water over the dam, there's a fish. If we let too much water over the dam, then we can flood people's basements that live along Penn's Creek, so sometimes we just have to let it do that. About 4 weeks ago, the water was level with the dock, and a few months before that, the water was up to the 3rd stair.
Oh, wow.
I got a few days off work I wasn't expecting. That was pretty cool. Oh, we talked about feeding the fish earlier. Did anybody see the fish on the way in?
Yes.
They're still a little bit murky. There's a rainbow brook and brown trout that they keep stocked in there. That's what we heard splashing over here. For a while, they had add some golden trout to add some contrast to make them stand out more. But the golden trout stood out so well that they went out to the lake, and they all got eaten by an eagle, so we don't have any more.
Oh my gosh.
A couple weeks ago, a family had come down before they made the announcement, and there's a little girl that was picking up the fish food off the dock and throwing it in the water. I happened to have a quarter in my pocket, so I gave her the quarter. She put the quarter in her pocket and kept picking the fish food up off the dock. Anyway, so all the water's moving that way, and for between 3 and 5 million years, water's been flowing through a crack in the limestone and wearing it away. Up until the last ice age, which was about 100,000 years ago, the water was all the way up to the ceiling. Yeah, right? And I can't be the only one getting dripped on, right? I got one right in the neck while I was talking, and I was able to keep my voice normal. Some tour guides call that a cave kiss and tell people that it's good luck. I stopped saying that after I was walking down the path and I heard a group of third graders going up the path bragging about how many times that they got kissed while they were down here. That's rainwater that fell on the ground above us. The rainwater will soak down past the grass and the mud, and it comes into the cave through cracks and layers of the limestone, and then it travels to the end of the stalactites. Just before that drips off, a little tiny bit of sediment gets deposited, and that's how the formations grow. It's about 300 to 500 years for them just to grow an inch. They're mostly made up of calcium. That's the white stuff that we see around it. And also some of the calcium might appear red or brown. That means there's iron in there, so that color is iron oxide or rust. And we are going to start to get within reaching distance of a few of the stones and formations. We do ask that nobody touches anything though. We've got oils and acids in our skin that could tarnish the stone, and we can even stop it from growing, so please don't touch anything. And you're not really missing out on much, it just feels like a wet rock. I know that because I come down here by myself at night and I touch everything when nobody's looking. We're coming to the corner here in Park again to look at what we call the Garden of the Gods. Some of you might know there's parks in both Colorado and Utah that are also called Garden of the Gods. This is going to be our little trick-or-treat fun-sized version. I'm going to park over here, and there might be a bump on the back right-hand side of the boat.
And a fish.
Like I said, we call this the Garden of the Gods, and if you look up on that ledge on the right, that tallest stalagmite up there looks like an eagle looking off to the left with his chest puffed out. Underneath that stalactite here, there's a stalagmite underneath it, and the stalagmite looks like an old fisherman with a white beard and a rain hat. Except that guy they put on the boxes of fish sticks. There's a column here, and a little ledge to the left, and right above where they're connected, you might see a little boy chasing a cow over a bridge. Or you might see a rock chasing a rock on top of a rock. Maybe we should go back to science for a minute. If I use this brighter light and shine it up in this dark pocket, you can see that there's a golden, glittery material that reflects off the light. That's iron pyrite. A lot of people know that it's fool's gold. Of course, they call it fool's gold because people used to find that and dig it up out of the ground, thinking about how rich they're going to be. I can only imagine they were pretty disappointed when somebody told them it was worthless. And they used to say it was worthless, but now I know we can sell it up in the gift shop, so I guess not. Sometimes water will flow over a surface and deposit minerals like it did here, and that's called a flowstone. This one might not be that impressive right now because it's only in its first stage, but if we came back here in a few thousand years, it might start to look like this one, like a frozen waterfall. And sometimes it gets foggy down here when it's warmer out. The people bring in moisture sometimes. It gets kind of foggy. Right now it's clear enough we can look right above this big rock and into the second room that we're going to go into. Can you see all those rocks on the floor? That looks like they fell off the ceiling? Yep, that's what happened. Back in the last ice age, water got between the layers of limestone and it froze. And of course, when it freezes, it expands. And so it pushed all the rocks out of the ceiling and onto the floor in that room. Even this big bad boy came down. We don't have to worry about anything like that happening nowadays because nothing freezes down here. The cave is 52 degrees all year round, so we can come in here at Christmas. It's going to feel exactly like it does right now. Just maybe a little bit more Christmassy. Once you get about 6 feet underground, the temperature will tend to remain the same as the annual average temperature as the land above it. Some of you might have had, or still have, root cellars. People used to have the same kind of science to keep things cold and preserved. Now they also use that science for geothermal air conditioning. Hands and elbows and hanging over the side of the boat. As another reminder not to do that, you can see these red smudges in the wall. Most of that's boat paint.
Ancient electric.
Over on the left, there's a stalagmite that looks like an owl. I've got somebody sitting up here with a Penn State shirt on. I'm sure she sees the Nittany Lion over here. Yeah. I think we're legally required to call it that, being so close to Penn State. We used to call this guy Buddha for a long time, right up until about 1983. Now we also call him Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. Sometimes, as you can imagine, I might have a whole boat full of Amish people. They don't know Star Wars, so I just go, hey, look, there's a big fat guy sitting up there. About 100 feet behind the lion, there's another natural entrance to the cave. In the parking lot, there's a Pepsi machine in front of the sinkhole. And if you walk down to the sinkhole, there's a group of trees with a fence going around it. If you go all the way down there, you can see that underneath one of those trees, there's about a 5-foot wide hole underneath it. That's the second entrance to the cave. And that's how the cave was discovered back in 1795 by a preacher named James Martin. I think he came in here, explored the second room with a torch before he got to the water. He turned around and went back out. He told some people about a cave with water flowing through it. They came down here with him. They built some rafts and they started exploring the cave. Gotta wonder if they felt kind of silly when they found that big, giant, obvious hole in the ground that we came in through. Over here are the chimes. And they're called chimes because they're long and hollow. So if we were to go over there and hit them with a stick like this one, it would make a ringing sound like a chime. And they did that from 1885 until the 1970s. I don't think we've been given proper credit, but I think we can make a pretty good claim. We are the original rock musicians. They started to chip away in the lower right-hand corner, so we don't do that anymore. But we do still keep the sticks on board. They're kind of useful for pushing off the wall if we need to. If a toddler throws a shoe in the water, you can fish that out. That happened once or twice. Also, as you can imagine, we get a lot of field trips down here. So if I have a boat with one teacher and 20 kids on here, it's really nice to have something to try to keep them in line with. And just so you know, if you ever come back here and there's a bunch of school buses and stuff like that, we don't put our regular ticket holders in the same boats as those people. Last summer I got back to the dock and there was kids all over the dock and as far as up the path as I could see. And I had to get them to quiet down just so they could tell me over the speed there to come up for lunch. So it's kind of like, yes. The line of kids ended, you know the benches halfway up the path? That's how long the line was. And the end of the line, there's this woman that gave me a certain kind of look. I knew what she was thinking. I stopped for a second. I said, "Are you with this group?" And she said, "No." I said, when it's warm out, we don't see the bats too often. Usually when it's warm out, the best way to find a bat is to tell somebody that's afraid of them that we're not going to see any. As soon as you say that out loud, one will come flapping by. They're nothing to be afraid of. They're just small Pennsylvania brown bats. Just imagine a little furry chicken nugget with wings. If we do see a bat, it's either going to be sleeping, or if it's flying, it'll try to find a dark space to hide and get away from the light. You can see it's shaped like a heart. We call that the heart of the cave. I hear that 2 summers ago we had a tour guide was asked to pull over. A guy proposed to his girlfriend here. They came back 3 months after that and they got married on a boat there in the same spot. I like to tell people about that, but sometimes it feels like I'm pressuring couples that are here on a date. They're turning that light around behind me like this. One time I didn't know, but I had a group of 20 people that were on the boat that were all there together as part of a work outing. For PennDOT? They didn't think that was very funny.
I guess not.
They actually went upstairs and complained to the front desk.
Looks like a giant dagger.
Or at least one person complained while 19 people watched. Right now there's about 100 foot of rock above us, and directly above that is the bison enclosure that's part of our wildlife and nature tour. You might have seen them up there. Just wanted to let you know where we're at in case anybody was trying to catch those water drops in your mouth. That's a lot of limestone filtration, but I'm not going to guarantee you couldn't catch a tangling back there. I've got 3 in my pocket if anybody wants to buy one. No, I didn't break them off. I saw the cave flooding earlier. When the cave floods, that'll happen sometimes. You can see some have been broken in that are regrowing. So back when they first started doing tours down here, in 1885, obviously they didn't have electric motors and LED lights. They used to use a gondola-style boat to get to the cave. To light the way, people would hold candles, and the tour guides would hold a torch. Tour guides might reach up and break off pieces of magnesium, like this off the walls, and use it to help keep their torches lit. Magnesium is flammable. You can find it easily because it dissolves slower than the limestone that's around it. Because they used to use torches and candles to see down here, on some of these calcium deposits, you can still see soot that started settling on there over 139 years ago. We used to call that the Pittsburgh Snowdrift. If it looks like I'm not watching where I'm going, I'm looking at the ceiling. Coming up on the left is going to be a flowstone, and the flowstone looks like the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. Once you get a little closer in the lower left-hand corner, you can see there's a little stalagmite that looks like somebody's going over the falls in a barrel. Above that, we got the American side of Niagara Falls. One of my favorite formations in the cave to show people is the Loch Ness Monster, or a dinosaur. I think Nessie is chasing a giant turtle over there. About 3 or 4 times a week, I'll have a kid ask me if there's any sharks in the water. Before they get on the boat, I say, nope, but we got a shark fin on the ceiling. And also might look like an elephant ear or a bat wing. I like to call it the shark's fin though, because right next to it, we got the shark's teeth.
Yep.
If anybody's been drinking the cave water, you might see some garden gnomes over here in the wall. You can see the little columns that they form in this room. That's the largest column in the cave. It's over 12 foot tall. I'm going to stop here. That's the tunnel that we made back in 1927. We worked our way from the outside in with small explosives and hand tools. And before they did that, the water used to the cave by going underneath the layer of rock on the right. If you've ever been on a cavern tour before, then you probably know at some point that the jerk tour guide is going to turn the lights off and see how dark we can get it. Now sometimes and if you're taking photos, you might want to keep your camera open because after the sun sets, the moon rises. High school kids just yelled the colors. Green. I didn't realize we had a gifted class on the boat today. And for morning, put some blue up there. We've got 3 colors. If we turn them all at the same time, though, it'll make a rainbow. Fish. Imagine being here down here by yourself when that happens. So sometimes it happens. I'm like, of course you don't have to worry about anything falling nowadays. Just wish that was a fish. There's also a white light we can turn on so you can see that one's a little bit better.
Okay.
So he's pointing at this hole over here. That's probably where the most concentrated part of the swirl was. And that's what I'm supposed to tell people. If you hear a toilet flush, you don't want to be underneath there.
Unique formation.
We're going to go outside here in a second. Before we go outside, does anybody have any questions? I'd be more than happy to answer them or make something up that sounds halfway believable.
Look at that water bubbling over there.
Bubbling, bubbling.
I heard that sometimes an owl will move inside the cave and eat the bats during the winter. I've seen frogs down here and granddaddy longlegs. Sometimes at that second entrance, a squirrel or a chipmunk might come in here, and that's always kind of a surprise. And just like they were saying a little bit ago, every now and then we might have a beaver living inside the cave. Yeah, this guy was here for about a month and a half last year. A lot of us called him Norbert after a Nickelodeon cartoon they used to play on in the 90s.
Okay.
Somebody else might have called him Dwight, and somebody else might have called him Alan. So, and he moved out before he had a chance to give him an official name. Make him vote. Honestly, I like Norbert because it's kind of silly, but I really didn't care what anybody called him, as long as nobody was trying to say Justin Bieber. He'd mostly be sleeping, but one day I figured out when he would stand up and look at people. 3 days after I figured that out, he moved away, so I think I was irritated. As you're going through the tunnel, watch your heads on both sides. Keep your hands and elbows from hanging over the sides of the boat. The tunnel is shaped like an S, reduce the amount of light that comes in. When I had the lights out earlier, I might have been able to see a little bit of reflecting off the walls. So you might feel a little bit of a breeze here. There's a natural breeze that's caused by atmospheric pressure. When it's warm out, the cave will blow out cold air, and when it rains, it switches directions, so the cave will breathe in hot air. Sometimes you can tell if it's raining before it leaves the tunnel here. There might get a couple bumps going through here. That sound is a little whirlpool that gets generated between the prop and the boat sometimes. Sometimes it makes a clicking sound and it sounds like the alien from the movie Alien.
Look at it. Formation there.
It's a beautiful day. It's always flattering when people take a day like this and come hang out in the dark, tricky cave.
Oh, there goes your eagle. Oh, that's not eagle. Oh. It's not an eagle, but it wasn't. Spider.
The water might be clear enough. If you look where the stick is, if you look a little past that, you can almost see underneath that layer of rock, and that's where the water used to come up out of the cave naturally, before they made the dam and the lake. So this used to be the head of Penn's Creek, which now starts on the other side of the dam that we'll see here in a moment. Penn's Creek is known for its trout fishing, and it flows about 73 miles away from here, all the way to a town called Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania.
Oh boy.
Then it becomes part of the Susquehanna River, so all this water we're sitting on is going to end up out in the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, wow. Kind of neat, right?
Could be. Could be a hawk.
The water would pump out like there's a fish or something. Something on the beach. Go back out.
Yeah.
Is that the hawk? Yeah. Up on the right there. The hawk or something bird up there.
Looking for some fish?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
There's some
deer.
deer laying down the shade over there. Whitetails. People usually like to fawn over the baby deer.
3, 4. There's 4 of them in there. But there's probably more.
Oh, there's one with horns over there.
Some of them are still nice and brown, but I noticed some of the bigger ones already put in their winter coat.
Did you see
Their
them
winter
walk
coat's going to be
around?
grayer and thicker. It's going to keep them warm and camouflaged
Of course
in
he
fall and
did.
winter.
Coming up to the dam. I can see it's a little low in there. Right where the dam's at, anyhow. And yeah. Let's see where the sea. Well, we can see where there's low water. Okay, use that. You're going to use them in the cave now, right? What? The sunglasses.
If you look up to that fence between just to the left of that tree, there's a sculpture where the car's going, right there. There's a carving of a horse there. But sometimes in the evening, when it's kind of like you're seeing the silhouette of it, people think there's a wolf looking down at us. It's happened more than a few times.
Yeah, it's big. Wherever moss is, and usually that's where no deeper than 3 feet. several different birds out here. Want this out of your way too? Right there. Right above our heads. Right there.
Raven.
Yep, I just put a big raven above our heads. They're ready to ready for the next boat. Okay.
In a few weeks, you'll be able to notice the way the sunlight will help the foliage. Sometimes you see the leaves are going to be green down here and they'll be yellow up top. It's something I noticed last fall. Going back through is kind of fun, especially through the tunnel. You can't always see the front of the boat, and we're going to be going against the current. Just going to keep you up to date on current affairs. As long as we're watching our heads and keeping our hands off the side of the boat, we should be good. Haven't done this in a few days. Oh, really? I also do the wildlife and nature tour, but I had the past couple days off. You feel that breeze now, can't you? Yeah. Sometimes it's like walking into a restaurant in South Florida. Look out for Headache Rock if you're sitting on my side. It's that one that's got the clump of hair on it.
You just get drip onto it? I did.
Right and left. Okay.
Alright.
You might have done that once or twice.
Well, I'm back inside the cave, so I see most on the way in. So I'm gonna pause it, and next time we come out, I'll be at the end of the cave.
Over to the left, you can see these long ribbon-like formations. And this might sound like a joke, but the actual scientific term for that is cave bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the joke is the cave bacon is fat-free and high in calcium. Sounds healthy, but I don't think there's much in that.
Ew.
The cave is half a mile long. That turn where we go into the second room is just about the halfway spot. Depending on how you came into the parking lot today, if you pass the picnic area, there's a white pavilion with doors and windows, and that's above the entrance of the cave. The cave goes underneath the road and underneath the bison enclosure. It comes out by those barns and silos. Those buildings that we saw up there just a second ago, that's where the, obviously where the tunnel is. So when you go back up there, you can see kind of where the cave light is going to be. That stalactite up here in the archway is estimated to be over 35,000 years old, according to isotopic testing. this little mud here on the side. That's where he first found it when he moved inside the cave. I think when he first moved in here, he might have been trying to hang out with that prairie dog.
Oops, sorry.
The first room of the cave is called the cathedral room because of the high ceilings. I told you about the couple that got married under the heart. I've heard there's been several marriages done here in this first room as well, but I've never been to one. Like, I'm pretty sure they would do that on a boat, but can't you imagine somebody down here with half a tuxedo and hip waders on? Maybe hip waders wouldn't be the best thing to wear to a wedding.
No.
Somebody might get cold feet. On the ceiling, you can see a shield formation that looks like the wing of an angel. I know my one buddy up there was interested in seeing the Statue of Liberty. Unfortunately for this thing, it looks more like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And I'm going to grab the light here as we pass this switch. If you look behind that column over there, you can see that behind it there's a little tunnel. I've heard that goes up to a secret room. I only know two people that I've ever been up there, and one guy that went up there told me if he gets another chance to go up, he's afraid he won't fit anymore. So we have a wisdom tooth, or the hippopotamus doing a swan dive. Sometimes when it's heavy rain, there's a trickle that comes right down here, so you have to get kind of close to this rock to avoid it. Last summer I was leaving the dock, and somebody was coming back, so I got out of the way and pulled parallel to the other boats in the dock so they could miss that. And they drove right into this, so you could hear every person on the left-hand side of the boat hitting it. Those last two stalactites on the way out looks like an elephant is stepping down to the ceiling. Just his head and his front leg there. So he's got that floppy ear. He's also got a runny nose, so he might get tripped on a little bit. So I think we made it back with everybody we left with. That's neat. I'm going to pull the boat into the dock, and then I'm going to walk up through the middle and hold the boat securely while you exit. In the meantime, I want you to take a look around and make sure you have everything you came in with. Things like purses, bags, cell phones. I think we had a couple kids on the way through. They get them too. Unless we need a couple extra tour guys. When the front of the boat gets in there, I throw it reverse so we don't smack into the concrete. The welcoming committee.
Yep, that's the end of the tour, but you see, didn't see you on the way in.
I think we're just about in.